Michigan State gets a really nice win against Ohio State, and then, hey, the 10th assistant coach just got hired for Michigan State football. How about that to start a weekend? Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans. It's your team in green and white 5 days a week. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below your MVP of Friday night's game between the Spartans and the Buckeyes. Is it Szymon Zapala, 15 points on them? Is it Cohen Carr, who apparently is better than Steph Curry at making free throws? Or is it someone that we haven't mentioned yet? We'll be talking all first segment about that game. And then, yes, they hired someone on the staff for Michigan State football. Coach Meat is gone. Enter Jon Boyer from the Oregon State staff. We've seen that before. Interesting. We'll talk about that later on. But let's talk about this Michigan State basketball game right now. The fellas in the black jerseys, 69. The guys that play for a fan base that really probably doesn't care about basketball right now because their football team's taking all the air out of the building. 62. Hey, guys, I know that's an Ohio State team. That's fine. And when I say fine, I don't mean like, hey, you know what? Like when your girlfriend or your wife asks you, hey, how was the meal I cooked you? And you say, fine. She says, oh, so you hated it. No, I really mean that. Ohio State's fine. They'll be on the bubble. They'll probably get like a 9 seed, perhaps. I don't know. A lot of season left. But as things stand right now with the Buckeyes, it's a fine team. But what are you not supposed to do on the road in conference play, even against fine teams? Well, pick up a win. The computers didn't expect you to do that. Okay, on Torvik, you were supposed to lose by 2 points. On KenPom, you're supposed to lose by 3 points. On FanDuel, let's take it from the gambling perspective. 1.5 point underdogs, 2.5 points on other sports books too. You know what I'm trying to say. Michigan State was underdogs in this game, but just like we talked about in the preview show, these are the kind of games you have to win if you want to be competitive in the conference title chase when February rolls around, when late February rolls around. Conversation we haven't had for about 5 years now at this point, guys, because Michigan State basketball has gone through the doldrums of some bad basketball is what we'll call it. Not fun basketball, but hey, not only is this team good, they're also just fun to watch. But you need wins like this against teams that you're slight underdogs against on the road in order to raise the banner, because you are still underdogs in 6 or 7 of the remaining last games, and all those are on the road, guys. If you look at KenPom, if you look at Torvik, like that's the fact of the matter. You needed a win like this to have a chance to raise a banner. And they got it done in decisive fashion. Again, we'll say the score 69-62. And that is despite a lot of things not going Michigan State's way, which also makes this game a little more impressive because, well, yeah, we kind of regressed to the bad shooting that we've seen early on in the season. 3 of 18 from behind the arc, just 12 points combined from Jace Richardson, who's like, guys, he's been fantastic this year. If he wants an off night, fine. Not going to bury the kid. Jeremy Fears did a really good job of controlling the game, just not points-wise. And then Trey Holloman, not a horrible game. He did really good defensively down the stretch against Thornton. But still, 12 combined points against that trio. Still got a lot from Akins, though. But besides that, bad three-point shooting. Not a lot of points from your guards. Fiddler, different conversation. I want to keep it upbeat here, but oh my, will he be in the March rotation? Guys, it didn't matter. It didn't matter that you got some off shooting, some off nights, and then just more of the same from Fiddler, unfortunately, because more people picked up the slack, and that is the blessing of having a team this deep. Let's start with the front court. One guy that I kind of surprised us this game, and then one that really didn't. We talked about them in the previous show. We'll start with the surprise. That is Szymon Zapala. I was wrong. I would like to apologize to the Zapala family. I don't know what kind of numbers this show does in Poland necessarily. I don't know what kind of numbers this does in the Zapala apartment back in East Lansing, but we were burying the kid completely or weren't certified haters, but I raised an eyebrow and I saw that Izzo's answer to we're going to try to get back to being dominant in the Big Ten or die trying by getting a guy that came off the bench at Lawnwood. And we kind of thought that, okay, well, this goes one of two ways. Someone's going to look really stupid here. It's going to be either the head coach of your Michigan State Spartans, Tom Izzo, a guy that's already in the Hall of Fame, or the head coach at Lawnwood for keeping someone like Zapala on the bench. Now, that's not to say Zapala never played at Lawnwood. He still was the first guy off the bench, but you get the point. She maybe got a more run at not just a mid-major, but a low mid-major. I think right now Izzo's the one that's going to win this one because our guy, my favorite Pollock of them all, Szymon Zapala, 15 points. And that's a season high for him, easily. My God, he had 9 points at halftime. The guy averages 5.5 points per game. And we've been talking about Zapala the last few weeks here. Who's kind of perfect for this team, fits the role. You know, he just does what he does as a 7-footer. You can't coach height. But what we love as Michigan State Spartan fans, and this is something that you don't get if you're just a fan of another normal team that, you know, roots for a team with average front court play the last few years, because ours was horrendous. What I like about Zapala is that when he gets the ball in the low block, he doesn't inexplicably bring the ball down to his knees. He doesn't bring it down to his waist. He doesn't do 2 pump fakes that no one's going to bite for. The 7-footer keeps the ball always at the height of 8 feet, and then he just goes right up for it. Like, not only does he catch the ball, which was a problem here at East Lansing the last few years, but when he catches it, he still acts tall. Now, of course, he's a little more skilled than that, but guys, as Michigan State fans, we've seen the opposite of that. Not to bury what we've had here, and maybe still on the team or what have you, but Szymon Zapala, point blank, that's the kind of guy that you needed on this team, just someone that's tall and that can just play fundamental basketball. Now, let's go on to the guy that we kind of had a hunch that was going to have a good game, and that was Jaxon Kohler, because, well, going into this one, Ohio State, not extraordinary at offensive rebounding, okay? They didn't have a high block percentage, so you could see that, hey, Jaxon Kohler, wait a minute, that's our guy that rebounds the ball, not just good, not just great, but so far at like a historically elite level for Michigan State play right now. If you look at his rebounding percentages, that's not hyperbole, and that's just facts right there. So right now, guys, 8 points, 10 rebounds doesn't really jump out of the box score, especially if you're used to what Jaxon Kohler has done so far this season rebounding. But man, guys, 7 rebounds in that second half when it was winning time. Well, Jaxon Kohler, he picked up the phone and said, all right, fine, I'll do it. Okay, I'll just, get another double-digit rebounding game for myself. So we got to highlight the front court. We're going to talk more about the guards, especially, someone else that we talked about here in that front court, another senior, or another experienced guy, we should say. But first, got to talk your ears off about FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're like me, you fancy yourself a little bit of Michigan State action tonight. That's right. We sprinkle a little bit on Michigan State plus 1.5 over on FanDuel, and that's why they're America's #1 sportsbook, because, well, they keep it popping over there. And guys, I got to talk about something very nerve-wracking, because they say right here that, hey, talk about the NFL playoffs in the regular season. I don't want to, because I'm scared about this Lions-Vikings game. But point spread aside, which Detroit Lions -3, we also like the anytime touchdown scores. We've been a little hot with this here, especially during these ad reads here at Locked On Spartans. For this one, that's right, we're going to go with Tim Patrick, anytime touchdown score. It's going to be a lot of points in this game. So, yeah, why not TP? Get a little bit of action there. And, guys, if you're a new customer, it gets even better, because new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need to place live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season an unforgettable run with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And guys, game time. That's right. If you're looking for tickets for this Lions-Vikings game. We'll just go ahead, hey, download the Game Time app, use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. But let's say you're not going to a playoff game or a regular season game that's going to cost you hundreds of dollars. Let's say there's a concert down the road, or let's say you want to go to a Pistons game, Red Wings game, or should I say a Michigan State basketball game at the Breslin Center. Yes, guys, there will be great tickets for great prices over at Game Time because they hook it up with their flash deals. Let's say, hey, you know what, a few days out, okay, you know what, I want to go to this game. Let's see what the prices are. Even when you plan ahead, you save a lot of money. Or you get out of work, you have time, your date just canceled on you. You say, well, okay, Michigan State's playing tonight. Might as well go to the Breslin Center and see this game. Bang, the last-minute ticket deals will also save you that money. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, back on the hardwood because your Michigan State Spartans 3-0 in Big Ten play. They keep it rolling. We just talked about the big men, guy, Szymon Zapala. I think I'm saying his name right at this point of the season. Jaxon Kohler. Let's talk about the wings because Jaden Akins was a guy that we circled, okay? We said that, hey, Michigan State has to get to the line. That's the first key to the game here, which they did. They got to the line 16 times. I'm sorry, that is the wrong box score I'm reading off of right now. They got to the line 22 times and then converted on 18 of those free throws. That was key number one to the game. And we said that because Michigan State, they're really good at shooting free throws. And Ohio State, well, they foul a lot, okay? This is going to be a very viable path to a victory for Michigan State. But key number two was Jaden Akins because out of the guards, you're going to need a strong game from them. Collectively, we said they need to score 40 points. I think they landed on 26 points. We fell woefully short of that. Jaden Akins was not the reason he showed up. 14 points for our guy Akins. Also took 6 free throws. And, what a beautiful scene to the season this has been, just getting to the free throw line. And I know it's not like the most fun basketball to watch, the sexiest brand of basketball you've ever seen, but we've also, here at Michigan State, have seen teams rarely get to the line here in the last few years. Those are free points, especially if you are as good as Michigan State is, top 10 in the nation at free throw percentage. Get to the line as often as possible. And they did. So shout out to Jaden Akins. He carried his load, and that is the 5th game in a row, double-digit scoring for Akins. Not super high percentages, 4 of 10 from the field, but guys, nevertheless, I like the 10 field goal attempts. Last year, the year before that, Akins' whole career, a little timid at times. It wasn't just consistency of oh, you know what, really good shooting night, and then just horrible shooting nights. Some games he would just disappear. Now, out of your senior, who you count on in big road games like this, he's still taking initiative. So you just got to give credit to Jaden Akins right there. Now, we also got to zone in on one key part of this game, and this is after the under 8 timeout in the second half. Hey, Michigan State, they were just up, 48 points it felt like. This is simple. This is easy. This is a road venue that's really just watching highlights of Texas football to just do a little bit of film study for the football team. They don't even care about basketball. And then, oh my, what's that? They just drilled a few shots. Oh my, and now we're down 1. What happened in the run after that? Michigan State down 1, less than 8 minutes to go, 12-5 run. Over the 2 TV timeouts, they went from down 1 to up 6 points, and it all started with Xavier Booker. Great on the defensive end, but 5 dribbles to go from one end of the court to the other. Nice finish and 1, and that was after a rocky-ish start for Xavier Booker. You're wondering, what happened to the Booker that we just found in the second half of that Maui tournament? The last few games against non-conference opponents, where did he go? And then he has that steal and score and 1. You're thinking, okay, is he going to be the 5th or the 6th overall pick in the next upcoming NBA draft? What a volatile player he is. But hey, lately, pretty positive. You also had Trey Holloman nailing a 3-pointer. Also, it wasn't just a 3-pointer by Holloman in that run where Michigan State stole the game and never looked back. It was that defense on Thornton. Okay, and Bruce Thornton is a guy that has absolutely badgered Michigan State here. And I know that I'm probably like you guys out there. I'm very scarred from that Big Ten tournament game you had 2 years ago as a true freshman. Where Michigan State, it wasn't a must-win to get to the tournament, but it would have solidified, make sure Selection Sunday had no sweat back then, and he just gave us the beats back then. And this was a Bruce Thornton that was hot this season too. 63 combined points going into this game. Trey Holloman with that seemingly 13-foot wingspan of his, he made me relevant down the stretch there, and that was after a really good run in the second half from Thornton. So it wasn't just a three from Trey. It was also the defense too. And Jeremy Fears also had some really good defensive spells against Thornton as well. That hasn't been an issue with Fears whatsoever. I think he's had a strong season. But also at the end of that run, guys, Cohen Carr, 2 free throws. But it's not just that. It's the fact that, and they said it on the broadcast, they tried their best to jinx it, and they did it at the end. But at some point, Cohen Carr, 21 straight free throws. I had no idea that it was 21 straight free throws at this point. That goes back to the first half of the Minnesota game. Ever since then, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. If I'm not like doing a bit right now, I'm not trying to be in the moment. If you had me bet a sizable wager on, hey, Matt, who's the last player that you would expect to hit 20-plus free throws in a row on this whole team? I truly think Cohen Carr would have been the last player I would have picked. I even would have picked Carson Cooper over him. I would have picked Zapala over him. I would have picked Nick Sanders over him. Cohen Carr, at least as a freshman and early on in this season when he was, 11 of 26, I think they said in the broadcast to start the season, he was always, he'll make the first, miss the second. He'll make the first, miss the second. Like 21 straight, what a sign of work ethic and growth from Cohen Carr right there. So yes, guys, we've seen the freak dunks, right? That 21 straight free throw clip, which is even hard for incredible shooters to do. That is the most impressive thing that he will do all season, and it played a massive role in tonight's game, guys, right? I mean, how many did he have? He went 7 of 8 from the line, got in a 7-point game, in a 7-point win. Tell me that means nothing. It doesn't. So it wasn't just what Michigan State did, though, on the court. It's also what they didn't allow Ohio State to do. Michigan State, once again, really strong defensively. 18 points between John Mobley and Bruce Thornton, okay? Thornton, he was 0 of 5. Mobley, 2 of 7. They also went 7 of 27 from 3 as a team collectively. Ohio State came into this game one of the best three-point shooting teams in the nation, the best three-point shooting team in the Big Ten. Michigan State, with their guards, which has been a theme for the last few seasons, really strong defensively on the perimeter. You can count probably on one hand the amount of open shots they had from 3. Yes, Mobley buried one of those before, or I guess during Ohio State's run in the second half, but quickly extinguished those flames. I can't say enough about Michigan State's guard play and their defense, and oh man, this has got me feeling some type of way. Next game, Thursday against Washington. Really quick look. We'll talk more about it next week, but on Torvik, you're expected to win by 14 points. It turns out for Washington, spending $2 million on a single player out of the portal doesn't shore up the other 4 positional problems that you have there. Who ever could have thought that'd be an issue? Guys, we want to end it here on the new hire for Michigan State football, and we will talk more about it next week. I just wanted to hit on it because it broke from Pete Thamel on Twitter earlier today, is that Jon Boyer, he is hired as the 10th assistant coach. Coach meet Demetrius Martin. He left. He went to UCLA, back to the West Coast. So Michigan State can hire another guy. Now, Jon Boyer, really quick, tight ends coach last year for, well, yeah, you guessed it, Oregon State. We poached another guy from Oregon State, and now I just feel bad for the people of Corvallis here. But prior to that, he was the quarterback coach at the 2023 Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Hoops could forget. But on a more serious note, before that, 6 seasons as a quality control coach and senior advisor on the offensive side of the ball. So familiar with the staff, familiar with Aiden Childs, of course. So look, the positive spin of this is that, yeah, Jonathan Smith trusts his guys. I mean, how many guys in this staff have been from Oregon State? He just pulled another guy over. Someone that's familiar with Childs, at least a little bit on the surface. But I guess just to not paint myself as a total homer and just a guy that kind of looks around college football, sees the staff, see what's going on with Michigan State, I am interested. Not just that, that they didn't hire another cornerbacks coach and that they're consolidating the corners and the safeties all to one room under Blue Adams. I don't hate that on the surface. Sure. Truly, who really cares? I am curious. It's not just that they hired a quarterbacks coach. Another Oregon State guy. Fascinating. Again, if you want to trust Jonathan Smith, if you're a Jonathan Smith disciple, which I am to a point, go for it. Your prerogative. I like the hire, I guess. He was an advisor on a decent offense at Oregon State. I'll cut to the chase. I'm curious. No other Midwest hire? When the last recruiting cycle wasn't as good as it could have been, I think we have the West Coast pretty covered with everyone else in the staff. That is Brian Lindgren. You yourself, Jonathan Smith, I think is another good example. But again, is it worth losing sleep over the hire of an assistant coach? Probably not. I just saw the hire and thought, hey, you know what? Great. He worked really hard on an offense. That was overall fine. If not outright good at Oregon State, sure, that's good. But we couldn't find anyone else in the Midwest that could possibly help recruiting or relationships of recruiting or anything that has anything to do with anything around this area. I thought that was fascinating. So good luck, Jon Boyer. I also spent time in Northern Colorado. Okay. Colorado Mesa. He also played there. He also played quarterback at Northern Colorado. So it's not going to be the difference between a college football playoff next year and another Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. It's not I feel like we could use help elsewhere than just another West Coast guy. I hope to talk about it next week with a guest, just so I'm not in my own vacuum over here. But that's my initial reaction. Great. Trust Jonathan Smith, I guess. He trusts his guys. Hey, this guy knows Aiden Childs at least. Maybe that helps a little bit, but is it really just going to be Brian Wozniak on the offensive side of the ball that has any ties to this area? Okay, sure. All right, guys, we will be back again early next week. Thanks a lot for hanging out with us here at Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white. I know it's been a lot of me solo lately during the holiday season. I don't want to bother a lot of people, but we will be getting more guests throughout the next few episodes, next few weeks. And that's right, we'll be hitting it hard here, guys, right here at Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white. Love you all. Go green.